All right. Well, welcome to the August 2023 GUA crossover. We've got This is what we try to make this a monthly thing, but you know how sometimes schedule works out. We just got through summer, so a lot of travel's been happening. So we got to June, we missed July, but we're back for quote unquote the end of summer at that point. But if you step outside in probably any one of our locations, it sounds like it feels like the devil's anus.
I mean, it's definitely cooler now than it was earlier in the week for me here in Indiana. But
And you brought
yeah,
that heat to me. So
it worked through Indiana to the coast to you. Yes.
yep, and Clay just lives in Texas, which has
I
all
I
of
love
their issues.
I so my grandparents ordered pizza tonight, so we all went and hung out there, and they were watching the news, and they're like, a cold front is coming in on Monday, and uh I saw the temperatures go down from 105 to 99. I was like,
That is
That's
a
a
I
cold
cold
front.
front.
love that cold front. Love that cold front for sure.
It's
Oh man.
amazing.
It's wild, guys. I have been seeing videos on TikTok all over Texas of people's tires literally melting while they are driving. It is that hot in Texas.
Wow.
Roads
That's-
are literally cracking and eroding. I don't know. And then the audacity of the Texas government and ERCOT being like, "Hey, if you can please set your ACs to 80 degrees throughout the day
Uh
to help us conserve energy." I'm like, no, no. Like after
This is
all
the
the
same
BS
company
of
that
of
screwed
of,
you guys
of
over a couple years
exactly
back.
they
Like,
they screwed
F
us over
them.
during the freeze, and then they're like, "Hey, can you like help us out a little bit?" Like you would think, like you would think that after all of that, they would make some things to help us. And I see Andrew's in the chat. He's
Yeah.
saying he lives in Central
Yeah.
Texas. Andrew, you know exactly what we are going through, man. Like the big thing here is just this past weekend, there were well, actually, no, just 2 days ago, the mayor was like, "Hey, we might be seeing some rolling blackouts to
Oh,
try
I
and
always love
conserve
those.
energy." And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, and I understand there are some places, countries that have those on the regular, but they also have maintained their grid and know exactly how everything works.
Right there.
Like with Texas, they're just like, hey, maybe this will work, or maybe we'll just boil you alive in your own house and hope for the best.
Yeah, that tracks. That.
There's
Texas.
not. Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
Texas.
it's Texas. Everything bigger and different.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Oh man.
All
But
right. Well, now that we've talked about the weather,
Get that
yesterday
small
we
talk
tried
out
to
of the way.
do science on Marvel Alliance, and that didn't work out too well. So,
I can't wait to listen to that episode.
that's a different kind of geek and nerdum. We're not necessarily part of that kind of network of shows. So, but we try.
no, but I know that the three big topics of discussion are, of course, Blue Beetle, the teaser for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, and the third one was
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. So, of course, we have a show that talks about Ahsoka. We had a review for Blue Beetle.
Mhm.
One of the things that we haven't had a show to really talk about is Rebel Moon. So I think we should start off with that.
Yeah. That sounds
If
good.
anything, what did you guys? What was y'all's first initial reaction? I know that we've seen a lot of stills and everything else. We've kind of kept up with the progress of this, but seeing the full trailer on its own. Well, did any of you guys actually watch Gamescom where they announced it at all?
No.
No?
I saw kind of the after the fact the clips and everything like that. I went to kind of all the clips after the fact. I just during the day work it just wasn't happening. So
Andrew is saying that he has to head out for a bit, but he'll be back. We will be here,
and,
Andrew.
and
So-
patrons, the link should be dropping in a few minutes, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. So do all the math, but next 4 minutes.
Yeah. No, but it oddly enough, it looked like Zach was like in awe or starstruck being on the stage, because there was a little bit of like awkward silence for a while, and he was just like staring off into the audience, and and Jeff Keighley was just like, "So here's the trailer."
You good, bro?
And it's kind of interesting just because Jeff runs a really tight ship outside of that one little incident that happened. You could visibly see how ticked off he was for obvious reasons.
It's happened 3 times.
Yeah.
With 3 different shows that he hosts. They need better security or higher stages.
It becomes now a challenge for people to see how much they can try to get on the show.
Yeah. Which is
But it was interesting to seeing Jeff invite Zach to make the premiere there. But I think, the appeal for Zach is that, okay, this is an audience that, can, instead of just dropping it on like Twitter or whatever like that, you get that audience, but then you get a different kind of maybe people who are fans of Zach, or maybe people who have kind of heard Rebel Moon, but can I kind of spread the word. And my first impression, just watching it on my TV, the trailer was just like, this is basically the true definition of a kind of a space opera, leaning hard into the. I know people are saying this is Star Wars. I'm more equating it to Dune and Star Wars, just basically meld together and created this epic that will be Rebel Moon.
And I wanted to ask both of you guys, because my co-host for Batman News Weekly, he used to love Zack Snyder, but he has said that the other side of that fandom that we all know of as the cult has kind of ruined his taste for Zack Snyder as a whole. And he is getting Sucker Punch vibes from this movie in the sake of he feels like there's too many genres in one movie. He said that because we saw the Star Wars-esque tone to it, we saw the Dune-esque elements to it also, but he also we saw a Griffith, and so he's like, we have Narnia in here and Lord of the Rings and there's a lot of these different things. So do you guys think that it will have kind of like that classic cult following like Sucker Punch does, or are you expecting more from it?
So I've got a couple confessions to make. First off is I actually do talk about this on tomorrow's episode.
Oh, fun. Excellent.
All right, yeah.
So don't get too excited. I have not watched the trailer yet.
Okay.
So
he's saving it.
What I said on the episode is it's Zack Snyder's Star Wars, and I know you literally just said, Chris, Star Wars and Dune. I was already interested. I don't need to watch the trailer. I'm gonna watch it when it comes out.
Fair.
That's me. That's just me. But that being said, if I happen to I'm not seeking out the trailer, and if I happen to just scroll through one of the social medias and it's there, all right, cool. I'll hit the sound on it or something.
Yeah.
That being said, I did listen to Scott's Patreon or Scott Shot's Patreon for the
article, Empire article.
The Empire article, and it sounds pretty awesome, just from what the article said.
And I think getting to your kind of question on that one, can you just say the question one more time? I want to make sure I'm getting.
Do you guys think there's too many genres being shown within this movie where it might be a little bit of a mess like Sucker Punch was? Because I remember liking Sucker Punch. I've only seen it once. I was literally the only person in the theater when I went to go see it. But I remember liking it back then. I haven't seen it since. And I know that there is a small cult following for that movie, like a majority of Zack Snyder's films. But do you guys think that this movie will have that type of impression? Or has there just been this phenomenon that is Zack Snyder after the whole Justice League debacle that people are going to have all eyes on this?
I think there's something to be said for that. I don't think that can be ignored at that point. But S. Bubs brings up the point, I feel this trailer is showing off maybe stuff from both movies. Yeah, he definitely didn't say. One could assume, okay, it's this part, but it could be a little bit of hints of the parts at that point. But one thing I'll say that if it looks like kind of a mess, it's a first trailer. It's a teaser. Yes, it's a very long first trailer slash teaser at that point. But this is just, as a lot of first trailers are supposed to do, get you taste. It's not necessarily supposed to be the most cohesive thing at that point. Your second trailer is typically your story trailer. It'll probably look a little bit, more kind of narrative thought out at that point. But I think what you have to understand, especially, being a sci-fi, we're going to different worlds, we're going to different areas. I mean, one could say that a lot of different things that may look quote unquote discombobulated, look like melding a little bit too much all at once. These could be different worlds we're going to. These could be different areas we're going to. So he's trying to build this entire kind of new universe. And what I applaud Zack Snyder doing is creating an original IP that he is taking from so many different favorites of his, from sci-fi, from fantasy. We've heard it over and over again, seen it, how much he's a fan of Excalibur, just like all these different tropes, and creating his own version of what he would like to see in a sci-fi movie. And that's what I love about him and creatives like him, that he's going to create something that he wants to do, that he feels passionate about. And you can really see, not just in his interviews and everything like that, but you really see like this is a Zack Snyder film through and through.
And that could also be a bad thing because, like you said, he's pulling from everything he likes. Like it could get, bye Charlie. It could get.
Oops, I didn't touch anything.
To the point where there is too many, and it is like pulling from each genre, and it could be too many genres.
And for me, what I am a little hesitant on in this idea, and this may be information that we received and I just missed it, is we're getting the second movie already within a year. And for me, I feel like that might be a little too soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the reason why I think it's too soon is, did he film both movies at once?
Yes, they are in the can. All principal photography has concluded. So
how can you say it's too soon? Look at the beautiful works of Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. Those are shot back to back, and those are great movies.
Mm-hmm. Amazing movies. Yeah,
amazing. You would even say,
but. But we're also, again, it's hard, and it's not saying that I don't think any director, any kind of film group would like purposely say, okay, we're going to put out a half-baked movie necessarily. But, everything we've ever seen from Zach, he is very, very particular about, like, it's going to look good at the very least. It's going to look very good.
Yeah.
With that. How you doing, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Kind of missed that first bit of the conversation, but yeah, no, saw that trailer.
Rebel Moon,
and yes, looks fantastic. Yeah, it took me 2 tries to get in here.
I got you in, and then all of a sudden you bolted. I was like,
I was recording today, and my aux cord literally just like cut out in the middle of recording, so I had to go out, run to my car, grab a new one. So I've been having some troubles with that. So it took me 2 times, but
life of a podcaster. I love it.
So, Charlie, what were your initial thoughts on this trailer, and what do you think about the way the movie is going to be presented?
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I was shocked. I saw like it has like around like $166 million for like the 2 parts or something. So it's about 83 a piece. I saw, which I was shocked. Like, just seeing those first shots in the trailers, like it looks fantastic. But yeah, you need
to remember there is a short film that looks like it's high budget. Zack Snyder made from an iPhone.
Yes,
so
he is great. He is great at doing.
He's great with cinematography for sure.
And then it looked fantastic. I'm the lightsabers. I was cool to see. It was cool to see that
lava based lightsabers.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
That's new information to me. I didn't hear that.
Coming off.
Sean O'Connell is putting out some stuff a little bit each day from his visits. So he was talking about that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. Some of the ships and I can't wait to see more. I'm curious about the score. That's gonna be cool to hear. And yeah, just can't wait to see more shots and the posters of that. I'm sure there's gonna be some cool promotion leading up to the film as well.
Oh yeah.
This may be one of those where I talk to my neighbor because he's friends with Zach, to like, hey,
What
You
got?
working on
Got
certain
any
not
more
working
of
on
those
Rebel Moon.
tips?
he's
Got
not
any more
working
of
on
those
Rebel
tips?
Moon. Because I think the next movie he's working on is going to be Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
But he
I
is still friends with Zach, so like hell, got me this poster.
Yeah.
Didn't work
Oh,
on the
yeah.
movie.
That's
So-
awesome. I was
and those
looking
are-
for a cool Blue Beetle poster to
Yeah,
hang.
it's
That
signed,
one's
too, so-
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Gee. It's
Yeah.
signed by who?
Sholo and the director. I can't remember.
Oh,
Nice.
Not Angel.
Soto.
It's
Wow.
Angel. It's Angel Soto.
There we go. Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's amazing.
yeah.
Espos brings up a good question, and I saw it, so I kind of dug around a little bit, and so he's asking, do you guys think Army of the Dead universe will continue in any way, or is Zach all in? And then he said there hasn't been any news about the animated show. So this is coming from.
This is happening.
This is coming from comicbook.com, March of this year. He says, I will say this is coming from Zach. I will say that there's been a bit of a slight stall on the Las Vegas animated thing. For technical reasons, it went off the rail a little bit. This is coming from when he was on the Nerd Queens. Adding to that, Twilight of the Gods, on the other hand, has been forging ahead incredibly well, and it looks amazing. And then, as he said, I know exactly what I would do, he said, but it really depends on how we try to figure out and how we go forward with Rebel Moon and the Rebel Moon universe. It's not a small-time commitment to Rebel Moon stuff because it's a sci-fi thing, and like this scale, does require a little bit of attention to make it all make sense, and it's very in a connected world. So what that says to me, reading between the lines on this one, is that the Army of the Dead universe is on pause right now. Twilight of the Gods is also, as he says, it's progressing very well. That seems to be moving forward, but he seems to be all in on Rebel Moon and the focus now on Rebel Moon, while the Dead verse that he started with Army of the Dead and then Army of Thieves is on a delay until Rebel Moon and Twilight kind of get underway.
I had said that as long as Rebel Moon doesn't have any Army of the Dead cameos, I think I'm good. I like the Las Vegas, and what I mean by that is I don't want this to be an all-encompassing universe. I want them to
crossover.
be
Yeah,
specifically separate.
The
Um,
Dead verse crosses Moon verse.
Yeah, I know.
Like that for me, I didn't watch the prequel movie. It honestly didn't like really
It's
tickle
very
my
enjoyable.
fancy at all.
Yeah, it's a good like Italian Job, Ocean's 11 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Army of the Dead, I enjoyed to a point. And then there was just some things that I just was like, it doesn't really interest me that much. And one of the biggest things I feel like is Zach made this movie 10 years too late, or this franchise 10 years too late, just because like the zombie craze for me is kind of like, I could do without it, or at least maybe a good long lengthy pause and then come back to it.
See, that's the perfect time though, because the zombie craze is done, and now this movie stands by itself to do its own thing, right?
to a
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I
Go
don't know. I think for me, I could honestly see them doing the animated show and then seeing how well that does, and then being done with it. Like I don't know about you guys, but like I'd like to see more. I enjoyed it, but I know like everyone I talked to, like they enjoyed it to a point. But for a lot of people, I found like it didn't really stick with them, or like the hype kind of died down really quick. Like it looked amazing, but like I don't know if it really like I don't know is that much different than like any of the other army stuff to really, or zombie stuff to really, I don't know.
I
push
think what
the
was
envelope.
intriguing to me, at least, was the proposal of like this has happened again.
Yes,
this
yes,
time-
that was the
that
thing.
that kind of
was-
stuff.
yeah.
The kind of alien being there. When they started shooting at them, some of them looked mechanical. At that point, it was like I had a lot of questions. That's what still intrigues me about the Deadverse that he's created, Army of the Deadverse, is that all these questions that are still remaining unanswered that I want to know more. It has nothing to do with, hey, I like seeing zombie. I love a good zombie movie at that point. I'm a huge George Romero fan, but that's not what intrigued me about the film. It was what those little questions that he put out there about.
I like the theorizing behind a lot of Zach's films.
They're so
especially
minuscule almost in a way.
Like especially the Army of the Dead. There was like the very blink and you miss it UFO in the very beginning of the movie, and all of these theories and the ideas that like zombies could procreate and reproduce. Like it's just like, that's weird, but okay. And then of course at the very end, you're like, okay, like they're setting up for a sequel. How does this move forward? So there are definite questions that I'm like, okay, I would like to see some answers, but I'm not heavily invested in the series as a whole.
And I think that was the part where I think when Netflix kind of looked at maybe the numbers and saw the potential of what he was building for Rebel Moon in the initial stages, and they're like, you see how big a Dune is. You see how big Star Wars is. You see how big, in a way, Lord of the Rings can be, and any of those kind of fantasy genres that have franchises that have a good following. Well, this kind of takes all that and puts in it. Netflix has The Witcher. That's kind of gone the way of the dodo, unfortunately, with the third season, which I still haven't watched for many reasons. But they have this kind of potential in Rebel Moon. And they've already got 2 parts. He's already said he's got a director's cut that he's going to be putting out there after.
Of course.
Because, I mean, he even joked about it.
I can't wait for it, but like,
it's like the idea,
can't be surprising at this point.
Yeah.
The good point that my Batman News Weekly host made was, did Netflix not let him do what he wanted to do with these films? Like the whole point of a director's cut is like,
probably is more of a he's trying to dumb it down is not the right word, but condense it for the general audience. And then it's like, hey, I know
for people like us.
I know people will want a full extended, and maybe the director's cut is both parts together with a couple extra things.
It doesn't sound like that. Not the way he's talking. Not the way he's talking.
I was gonna be like 2 separate 4-hour treatments or something.
He's talking like a good 4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
Wow. I wouldn't go the far that, to your point. That's what I definitely agree with Joe. Like you put this on a platform where it reaches audiences. Okay, a 2.5 hour thing. That's what we're used to movies. That's fine. He gets to put out something that adds to the lore, builds the universe more, and as payoffs for people like us that enjoy that kind of stuff, dive deep into it head first into it, break it all down. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I had someone say, I'm just gonna wait for the 5 hour cut. Sorry, you're alone in that. I'm watching them all. I'm watching every single one of these. I'm not being left out of the conversation. So,
and do we know it's being released in theaters?
It has not been said, and that's why we've got the hashtag going around. Releasing in theaters. There is nothing
I hope
to be
so.
said.
I hope so.
If you go with the possibility of what the Netflix boss says, he's saying, like, I'm not creating movies to put in these movies to be put in theaters, and I'm like, well, if you want Oscar contention, you're gonna need to.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's don't get me wrong, having a streaming service and making a movie exclusive for a streaming service is great. It draws people to that streaming service, but you can also get more eyes on it by drawing attention and look at Glass Onion.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm using that as an example because it was a Netflix exclusive that they, for 1 week only, put out in theaters, and I went and saw it in theaters, and then as soon as it landed on Netflix, I watched it again.
Yep.
And I know they did it with another show, I believe. I can't remember.
They did it with the
Irishman. El Camino, the Breaking Bad.
That's right. Yeah. They did it before. Movie. So, and if you
I've
limit
got a list for you of when they did it. Let me find it. I know.
If you limit to 1 week of exclusivity in theaters, or even like a weekend or something, people will go. People will pay money to go see it, and then to see it again, you now have to watch it on the service. Like that's actually, I think that's a smart business opportunity. You're getting eyes on it, and you're getting the word of mouth. Like, oh, I saw it in theaters; it was amazing. Oh, I want to see it again, so I can break down this part and this part and this part.
Yeah, here's a small list of what they have done. They've done Tick Tick Boom, The Power of the Dog, Bruised, Mank, Glass Onion, Marriage Story, The Trial of the Chicago Seven, The Two Popes, The Irishman, Hillbilly Elegy, Don't Look Up, Malcolm and Marie, Mowgli, and Army of the Dead. Have all released for a limited run in theaters.
Nice. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't sit there and tell me that
A movie like
it's
this,
impossible to put this movie out in theaters.
this needs to be on a big screen for at least partial.
Well,
I'd
and
watch it.
so, and here's I think the reason why they might. Again, not entirely sure if this is a reasonable reason to do so, but we know that one of the co-CEOs of Netflix is a complete asshat for what he was talking about today. But we know that a lot of companies, Chris, you shared that Disney stocks are plummeting.
Well, they're dropping.
they're dropping.
Yeah.
Well under $100, which is something that hasn't happened in a very long time for Disney, at least. And I think if they are legitimately not running out of money, but losing money, I think that Netflix will be like, maybe we can get a couple bucks if we throw this out in the theater. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
But All in the Game asks, any concerns about Snyder as a co-writer or the writing team as a whole when it comes to, I'm assuming, Rebel Moon? I don't know who the other writers are.
The other writers, the story is done by Zach entirely. Screenplay is Zack Snyder, Kurt Johnstad, and Shay Hatton. Kurt Johnstad, he has worked on films 300, Act of Valor, Rise of Empire, Atomic Blonde, and wrote one of the two competing screenplays for Aquaman. Even his wasn't chosen. Shay Hatton, known for his work on John Wick Chapter 3, Army of the Dead, Army of Thieves, and John Wick Chapter 4. I don't have problems with any of those.
No.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe All in the
really
Game
have a
can kind of
problem with any
clarify
those.
maybe their concern.
And I think, well, yeah, Snyder had pretty much that same amount of participation on Army of the Dead, no? I think so.
I
Yeah,
think if anything, we know that clearly Zack Snyder has had a controversial history with writing his stories, as far as like what the general public or critics, should I say, like and don't like about his films, and is usually because he was partially in part the writer. So I can understand the question for sure. With this being his creation, I think it's going to lean more his way as far as like being in the positive. On the Game says didn't love Army of the Dead screenplay, that's why he's worried.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think I would say for most people who have problems with Snyder's writing might still, like, I don't think anything would be completely different from this movie. He's just going to be leaning more into that, but I don't think that's a bad thing, personally.
And
it's just kind of
I also wanted to bring up, just because some people thought it was odd that Zach presented Rebel Moon at Gamescom. He also announced that there is a video game in the works in the universe of Rebel Moon. That was why he had the announcement.
A sequel, right?
That's been talked about for a little bit now. So
yeah,
it'll be good. And then he hemming and hawing with the IGN crew about Gears of War. The back and forth between him and Debbie on that one, and him kind of dancing around. It says like, "Oh, you're circling the wagons on that one, there, buddy."
If Dave Bautista is a part of it, I'm gung ho about it. Bautista has been a very big what's the right word? Advocate for putting Gears of War onto the big screen or small screen as a whole anyway. So I think he's very passionate about the possibility of playing a role in that film. So I wouldn't see a problem with it. I just think, for me, as somebody who hasn't played Gears of War, I'm going to go ahead and say, because Halo didn't do it, they need to stick with the general concept of Gears of War. They cannot stray from it. Because I think we've seen best when it comes to video game franchises. Um, I think Mario is kind of the odd man out, but not really.
I mean, Last of Us really was really great in the format they chose. I
Yeah,
thought, anyway.
but it stuck to the source material.
Yes.
It very
Whereas
hardcore.
if you go with something like Resident Evil, which
Yeah,
every single iteration, and I've seen all of them, except I need to watch the anime movies, which is for a future episode. But I've watched all the movies and the remake movie and the show on Netflix, and none of them are true to the source material. They have elements.
hmm
Like the first movie, the original Mila Jovovich movie, is probably the closest you're ever gonna get to the video game, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. But it's hard. It's hard to. Well, actually, no, it's not hard because Last of Us did it. You know, I haven't seen Assassin's Creed. I watched one episode of Halo, and I'm like, this is something. So if Gears of War were to come out, I've played a little bit of Gears of War. I know some of the mythology. That's gonna be one of those where you definitely have to stick to the story for it to be for the general audience to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I haven't played the game, so no
Yeah, no, it's
idea.
been
You
years.
guys
Like,
have all played the game?
I played the first game
Yeah.
for like an hour,
Oh, okay.
so that's like original Xbox. Long.
I put it on my list of, because I, for the longest time, was a PlayStation only. In high school, I owned an Xbox, but that was only because I didn't have a PlayStation at the time, and so I just played whatever. But I never got into Gears of War. Now that I have an Xbox, I have a digital only Xbox, and I had Game Pass for a while. I jumped on to the latest Halo first. I was like, it's the biggest hype thing that I know about, so I want to jump on that as quickly as possible. So that's what I did. Now, it's on Game Pass, every single Gears of War game. And when I eventually get Game Pass again, I am going to start it. I think Taylor from Geekverse hyped it up. As soon as I got an Xbox, he's like, "Yeah, like if you have any questions, like we could talk about it and everything." So he's very much into it. I think he would very much appreciate there being a live action adaptation of it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it for sure.
but
But
speaking of video game adaptations, and I know that recently they announced DLC for God of War. Do y'all have high hopes for Amazon's God of War series that they're working on?
I have hopes. I have hopes, you know.
My
Not because
only
I-
hope
I-
is that they don't get Dwayne the Rock Johnson to be
God.
Kratos.
They get Kevin Hart.
Oh, I think if they spend the time and money and get like good creators who really care about that material, I think they could make something solid. For me, like I bought a PS4. I got the Ragnarok game with the or PS5, sorry, and I was playing it, and even the 20 I don't know when, the 2014 or 2018, whatever one that was. I love the visuals and I always love the story, but I just can't. I don't like mesh with the gameplay. Like I never like get into the fighting. I just like I find it a little repetitive. So I've never completed the games, but I think it could make a great series for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for any video game adaptation, just because I feel like they for sure have there's so much content out there for video games, and they've
Yeah.
kind of just left it out on the table.
Yeah, but again, it's one of those things where they want to make an original story, and that's when it falters almost always. And like you mentioned with Super Mario Brothers, like that's one that it's an original story, and well, even Sonic, both Sonic movies, those were original stories, and they all three of those movies worked. I had a lot more fun with Sonic 2 than I did with the first one. And because of that, I'm looking forward to the third Sonic movie.
Actually,
but-
didn't even watch the first one. I just watched the second one. It was fantastic.
really,
Yeah, it's great.
so it's one of those things where I've never played God of War. I know of the mythology of the games, so it would be one of those where I'll check it out. But with Amazon, it's a hit or miss if it's going to be a weekly or all drop at once, you know. So 'cause I'm still waiting on. I haven't heard anything about Reacher if that's going to drop all at once or if that's going to be because when season 1 was all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's got some popularity, maybe that will drop weekly. I don't know. Which fun little side story, since I just brought up Reacher. I'm reading the books right now.
Cool.
Audio books, the books right now. I put in a hold for book 7 back in July. And that was on Libby. And then through Hoopla, I found it, listened to it, and now I'm like, oh, see how long this hold will actually last. I went 5 weeks, and I have gone through. I was about a quarter of the way through book 12 when my hold for book 7 showed up finally. So
Nice.
just a little fun little side story.
So you've been digging it. It's safe to
Well,
say.
I mean, I was wanted to catch up on the story that they're going to be covering for season 2, which is book 11.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really interested to see what happens. So
Cool.
Yeah,
Still need to finish that.
I think you should. The series, that actually is a good series. I'm going to rewatch it before season 2 comes in November. So, and then I'll cover it on the show.
But Charlie, have you been watching Ahsoka so far? You watched the first 2 episodes?
You know what? I actually only watched the first episode. I haven't had time for the second one yet. Unfortunately, it's okay. Yeah, I really want to finish it. I had a little bit of time after work today, but I had to squeeze in My Adventures of Superman and Harley Quinn.
Still need to watch it. That's
I
tomorrow.
I had to get those in there.
I need to catch up on My Adventures of Superman. I have a lot that I need to catch up on.
I had to watch Power Rangers, so I couldn't watch those 2.
Yeah.
Have you started that show, Chris? I don't think I've heard.
Which one?
My Adventures of Superman.
I started it, and
Tell him, Chris.
It's on the. It's on. I think I'm on episode 4. I've been on episode 4 for a while.
Oh, you're actually watching it.
I am. I'm
Yeah,
watching.
He's taking his time.
Okay.
But
It's-
there's
it's
a
not-
reason.
It's not a priority just because I'm not a fan of the animation style.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just I've not been a anime fan necessarily, and
Totally.
I know it's not like pure anime, but it's got enough of the elements there. I've tried so many different versions of anime. It's just never been my thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's Superman, it's DC. It serves its purpose, but it's just like I instead of watching that, I watched the 3-part documentary of the DC history of DC on HBO Max, which is really good actually.
need to
Very
watch that still.
very surprising. But when I saw it was done by iWorks, I was like, okay, then this is gonna be quality because I've seen a lot of stuff that they put out, and it's
Okay.
pretty. It's definitely worth a watch.
Still need to watch that. Still need
Nice.
to watch that. And Harley Quinn.
Yes, definitely have watched Harley Quinn. I'm caught up with this week's episode.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
it
not.
is great. It is great. But yeah, what have you guys? Actually, I haven't listened to the review yet of Ahsoka. So yeah, I'm excited to get into that. I wanted to listen to the first episode. I wasn't sure if it cut
Well,
somewhere, but I was worried about getting spoiled. So
Yeah, so the way that me and Katie did it was we kind of, because it was a 2-part premiere,
yeah,
we kind of
no, I
talked
fig-
about
yeah,
both of them
100%.
kind of interweaving. So just be careful. Go ahead and watch the first 2 and then listen to the review.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait.
I've definitely enjoyed Ahsoka. I'll keep it spoiler free for keeping out of episode 2 at that point. I've heard, I've not made any qualms about it. I'm
Don't
a
really
huge
care.
Ahsoka fan. Ahsoka's my favorite character in the Star Wars universe. So I was already all in on the show. I love Clone Wars. I love Rebels. It's hard for me to rank like which one is better, is quote unquote my favorite, just because they're just two entirely different shows. I love them both for very different reasons. But what I do like is I figured these 2 episodes, particularly episode 1, would be very general audience focused for those who have never seen Rebels. And so if you haven't seen Rebels, I can totally understand those that saying, I'm kind of meh on the show right now because the connection isn't there yet. And so they have to spend these kind of episode and a half building this enough there that general audience could find some connections to it at that point. So I'm hoping by episode 3, end of episode 2, it started breaking out really well, and I'm hoping for more of what we saw in end of episode 2 moving forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really liking the show. I've seen both episodes, but I watched them a couple days ago, and I forget a lot of it. I do way too much. You guys know this.
I'm right there.
I'm loving it though so far.
For me, I guess whoever's listening to the spoilers for the first episode, but really liking Balin. I said on the review that he is a hulking of a man. Remembering him as an actor in the, I guess, very little that I've seen him in. He played one of the brothers 3 in Thor, where he is short and stocky, and he played the Punisher early in his career, where he was tall and he was bulky, but not that bulky.
He had the armor on a lot.
He had the armor on a lot, yeah. So it made him look a lot bulkier than what he was. And in here, he's just massive of an individual. And I'm just like, holy crap. I really like the way he talks and kind of the implications that his future is holding. I'm really excited to get his history. Like I told everybody in the Geekverse Ahsoka chat, I'm like, guys, just be prepared for that inevitable Order 66 flashback, man. It happens in every single Disney Plus show, so it's gonna happen.
What I don't want is the 2 episodes of Mando in the 6 episodes of Ahsoka we have.
I think it's still a possibility because I don't know if anybody else knows this, but The Mandalorian takes place from the end of Rebels to Ahsoka. That's where the actual timeline of The Mandalorian takes place. So, so The Mandalorian is there still.
I mean, considering that in season 2 we see Ahsoka and Morgan, Elsbeth, whatever her name is, in an episode of season 2. So yeah, this, it makes sense that this is the same time frame.
Yeah,
and I also like, and I sent this to you, Clay, in the over on TikTok. The idea of how Rebels ends in the epilogue at that point, time jump wise, is how they end the exact same way. In so much so is how they end episode 2.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yep.
There's
and that is confirmed to be done on purpose.
It's supposed to be the same.
It's supposed to be the same. Yes, okay. It is supposed to be the homage to how they ended Rebels.
Now I have more questions.
And Dave Filoni's been very, very clear in the sense of when they talk about this and when they brought in Ahsoka when they reintroduced her into Mando and things like that. He says Star Wars necessarily doesn't work linearly. Things happen when they happen at that point, but it doesn't mean that they're not canonical. It just is going to occur at different times.
Yeah, well, and I know they've had Ahsoka is the perfect example of the character, because if you read the novelization, they touch on that in the Tales of the Jedi a little bit,
Mhm.
but then even I think it was the season 7 when she leaves, like officially leaves, disappears, drops her sabers and goes.
Yeah.
Like that's even different than what the novelization was. Like
Yeah, and I think you, Clay, you and or Katie have said like that's been a big point of contention.
Yeah,
yeah,
the one thing that that pretty much confirmed that they completely ignored that novel was Tales of the Jedi,
Okay.
which is basically all of Ahsoka's journey post Order
truncated to 20-minute
60.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, post Order 66.
That's
Um,
unfortunate.
and it's very confusing to fans when Lucasfilm themselves says everything is canon, but only when we want it to be.
But that's also they like to take the main novels, and Ahsoka is a young adult novel. And in theory, it should be every novel. It should be everything. Novels, games, comics, all of it should be canon. But when it comes to the young adult stuff, they kind of like, oh hey, that's the thing.
Go do your own thing. Yeah.
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 And it's interesting just because I've hearing, what George Lucas has said before, Filoni's said it before, is just like they've always more considered live action, anything that's been in either live action cartoons and the movies streaming, that's more canon
Yeah, it's number
than
one.
any that will always defer to, and unfortunately for you Clay and John, I don't know if you're a fan of the novels at that point. That'll always be one of
Oh
the,
yeah,
and
you
Charlie,
probably
I don't
haven't
know if
seen
you read any of the novels either,
my collection.
but that'll always be towards the bottom of their caring list.
I think I've got majority of the new canon. I don't have a lot of the High Republic stuff, and I'm missing a few of the like in between here. But I've
Well-
got almost all of the new canon novels.
What
No,
about
of
you,
course-
Charlie?
I've dug into a bunch of or not a bunch, but some of the graphic novels, like the High Republic stuff and some of the Vader runs, but never any of the novels itself. I normally just throw on Clay and Katie's review and follow and just listen to the story. And
One of these years,
saves me some
I'm
time.
going to start in the canonical beginning.
That's what I said literally in the last episode.
Did you?
So
And
it's
just go from novel to comic to game to movie.
yes, it
Yeah.
is insane the amount of actual content that Star Wars has. And I made this comment because of our review on the last of what were we reading? I think it was either Tarkin or the third book of the Legends Thrawn trilogy. There is so much canonically out there for people. If you're like, hey, I want to know all of Star Wars from canon, it's like, okay,
Good luck.
how much time do you have? And they're like, oh, I could watch like probably about 20 I've like people are like, oh, I've seen the MCU, I can follow anything. Okay, well, you're gonna need about $4,000 worth of novels. You're gonna need, all of these comics and graphic novels. You're gonna need all of these video games. You're gonna need all these movies, and it's absolutely insane. Now, of course, there has been some novelizations of the audio dramas that they make specifically for Audible, also. Which is absolutely insane. But Joe's right. If you go all the way to the beginning from what's actually canon, right now you have to start at the High Republic.
Is High Republic like the second set, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Which is not done yet. If I'm
it is finished. It has officially finished. We're going on to phase 3.
I can actually start, which jumps back to after phase 1, right?
Yes. Phase 3 is the sequel to phase 1, which actually starts at the end of September. So literally next month.
Okay.
But it's the High Republic and Young Jedi Adventures, which is on Disney Plus right now. Then you go to the Fall of the Jedi, which is the Phantom Menace, Tales of the Jedi, Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith. And I literally have it all right here because StarWars.com has updated their eras and they've officially added the new Jedi Order, and it's completely blank. And this is, of course, what they are ramping up to with Rey as part of the Jedi Council and everything else. But yeah, like in between Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith, you still have a lot of comics with you have the runs of Darth Maul, you have the Kanan stuff, you have the Obi-Wan stuff, you have the Qui-Gon stuff and the Yoda stuff as well.
So much.
There is so much out there. And to legitimately, because my pitch was, oh, when Amberlynn finally gets interested in Star Wars, she's gonna have a rude awakening because she's gonna have to go through everything. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. No, I keep telling that to Emily that I'm gonna do that, and she's like, "Good luck with that."
Sure, yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah,
Have fun.
And I did have intentions to kind of, okay, I'm more, movie streaming and then the comic side of Star Wars, but I've never really delved into the novels outside of Timothy Zahn's, Heir trilogy, and I do have the Thrawn trilogy on Audible. That'll be a one day kind of thing, but it just got to the point where it may not happen. And you know what? At that point, as a fan, there's going to be blind spots, and that's going to be a blind spot that I'll just have to deal with. And I still have not picked back up Jedi Survivor since Zelda had come out. I've always been with Zelda at that point, but I will go back to Jedi Survivor once I kind of get to the final part of there. But I know that there's a lot of High Republic nods that I'm probably going to be lost on, and will either appreciate
I will tell you, going into Survivor with the knowledge of the High Republic, you don't need it.
That's good.
You don't.
I didn't think you would, but
you don't need the knowledge of the High Republic because they explain it. They explain that, hey, there was a time before where the Jedi they were at their height of their power.
Okay,
but there is a little nugget there of information that makes you go, if they knew this information then, why did this not happen here? And me and Katie say this all the time, because the idea wasn't out there when A New Hope was made back in the 70s, people. Sure. Like, you can't pick this stuff apart like that. It's just, it doesn't make any sense if you try to.
Star Wars fans? But
for real though,
here's if there's just one set of books you read, and I do love the Thrawn trilogy. The new one was great. Tarkin was good. I really did enjoy Tarkin. But I would recommend the prequel trilogy novelizations. Okay. They dive a little more into, like, Phantom Menace dives a little more into Anakin as a slave. The love story in Attack of the Clones makes me actually appreciate what was in the movies more.
Does it talk about sand?
Not a lot, but does have some in there. But the Revenge of the the Revenge of the Sith novelization is just like superb. It's one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. Matthew Stoyer, I believe the author is, just does such an amazing job telling the story in that book. It's just, I love it.
Out of the three, I've heard that the Revenge of the Sith is like the big one that everybody's really more hyped about when it comes to those three. And I do want to reiterate, the eras page on StarWars.com also added the Dawn of the Jedi, which is going to be James Mangold's movie as well.
Nice. One of the big things, and I know this is spoilery-ish, but one of the things in the novelization of Revenge of the Sith is when Mace and company goes to confront the Emperor, he kills them, obviously, but while he is doing it, like, it shows, it says that he's got like a video recorder or a audio recorder in there, so you hear him saying what he says, but as he's saying it, he's whipping out his lightsaber, he's slicing and dicing everybody, and it's like, oh, why are you attacking me? This is what you're doing. Like it's like amazing. So sorry, I'm done with that.
But aside from the Star Wars talk, I guess the conversation that I think all of us will be able to have is and you've heard a lot from me and Joe because of the review. But Blue Beetle. Charlie.
Yeah.
What did you think of Blue Beetle?
Yeah, I was super excited for the movie this whole year. It was actually, I would say, The Flash was tossed up, but I was definitely most excited for this movie in particular. I just I picked up like his first run a couple years ago, and I love the character, and I love
you had a lot of Blue Beetle last year on your comic book reading
I did
challenge.
some last year as well. Yeah, I reread a bunch last year, like all the anthology stuff, and it's really great. I loved like the legacy they had in the whole movie, and honestly, I was really impressed with just how the movie looked overall. Just with that budget and how the suit looked and just all the powers it had. Really just full display of the Scarab, and that relationship with Jaime and Kajida, like we didn't like we saw it a little more towards the end. But I think we'll be getting it more hopefully if we see Jaime later down the road, which is like the thing I'm most excited for. I just want to see more of that character in any fashion, to be honest.
Yeah. I really, as I put out my first reaction tweet, is like, this movie has so much heart. And I think that's what really, does this movie break any new ground with a superhero origin? No. And that's not what I was looking for with this movie. I was looking for, okay, here's a unique character that, let's be honest, on our bingo card of all characters to get a movie, not on my bingo card at that point. And a character that when Batgirl was infamously canceled, our next thought was, well, we know who's next on the chopping block, and by some miracle, a stay of execution was given and a reprieve to move to a theater at that point. It's a very good story to see that happen. A lot of heart. I think Sholo did an outstanding job. I've been a fan of his since Cobra Kai. So I think like it was, like we've said before, it is unfortunate that he and the rest of the cast have not been able to promote this, because I think, would it have done a change in the box office? I don't necessarily think so with that. I think it might have been a little bit better, but I just don't know if there was a lot.
Now, I don't know her full title in the professional world of occupation, but the actress who played Jenny, I have seen her Instagram. It does look like she has promoted it a little bit.
Okay.
She is Brazilian. I don't know if she has any kind of stake in SAG-AFTRA or whatnot. But she is very popular on Instagram. And I think I said this on the review that I think
she started as a model.
She is a model. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And I think this is, she has been in telenovelas and very small roles with her acting career. This is her first big budgeted, quote unquote, big budgeted movie. I think she did very well.
Yeah,
I think she did very well for her performance, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. If I had to rank, she was kind of middle of the tier for me in the sense of the cast. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. Susan Sarandon and our other villain were bottom of my list. It's just like, all right, Susan Sarandon collected a paycheck for this at that point, and it showed.
Yes, it did. She was one of my problems. I mean, you heard it on the review.
Yeah.
She was one of my problems with the movie.
But I also wasn't going, I can't wait to see Ted Cord's sister do that at that point. I was looking to see Jaime and the family and seeing this character. But I think what was more impressive, and we got this basically kind of revealed to us in the trailer, is like, oh, they were going to be building the world of Blue Beetle with not just Ted Kord, but Dan freaking Garrett. I mean, you want to talk about
I
how
was
much we've been
surprised.
how much we've been waiting for, not only seeing Ted Kord after all the teases in the Arrowverse at that point, not getting anything.
Hashtag
Dan
where's
Garrett,
Ted
that
Kord?
was, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was very happy to see that. Do I count myself as a Blue Beetle fanatic? No, I've enjoyed. I was more, got introduced Blue Beetle through Justice League International, and then the beginnings of Jaime with Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, to be honest, like I love the small change. Like they did make a lot of like it was a very, I found, accurate like character to the comics. But I love the changes they made. Like I know like his two best friends, Brenda and Paco, they weren't in the movie, but if you really read those comics, those two characters do take a lot of time away from the family.
I was gonna say, and
which really made the movie special.
I think there's room for them to come in though, because the
I
fact
hope
that
so.
he's coming back from college.
Yes.
Whereas in the comics, especially with this newer run, like
Yeah.
he was about to be going to college, where he is still at his hometown. He's still with them a whole lot. So I think Angel Soto really wanted to focus solely on the family.
Yeah,
and
I
of
love
course,
that.
in the comics, the whole thing is that they are part of the family.
Yes.
They really treat him that way. So I think there is room in the future to bring them on board with the DCU, and I really hope, and I'll tell this to Snell if he ever asks or whatever. It does kind of irk me when he's like, "Woof!" Like, here's another bomb or whatever, and I'm just like, "God damn it!" Just like wait until everything goes through. It's not looking great. It's not looking great. But it is doing numbers. It is. It beat Barbie for that weekend. It only took 5 weeks for Barbie to be out.
But
yeah, but
I
Bobby
wouldn't
took it
go
back
that far as saying.
immediately,
Yeah.
But that is accomplishment though. Like it got number one for the weekend. It
Yeah.
beat out the $1 billion movie that's Barbie for that weekend.
I
And-
don't know.
and that's an
I'm
accomplishment
curious
for me.
what DC itself like expected from this movie, considering the budget. Obviously, they had to put a little more promotion in it, but I don't like. I see a lot of people saying it's bombing and stuff, but like was it expected to do well? Like ever? Like
I believe the estimated budget is 120 million. It might be a little bit more. But from that might actually be pre-theater run, because from what we had reported back when I was on DC Alliance is that all HBO Max movies were going to have a budget of 60 million. So they were all going to be low budgeted films. So I think, plus, all of us assume, oh, it's the budget times 2 is what the overall budget is. That's 120.
Yeah.
But it may have been a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and say probably close to 150 is my guess, maybe.
that's fair.
But the really big thing was that Angel had said that he relied a lot on practical effects rather than
And it showed.
using
It
a
was
crutch of VFX.
Yeah, I think the CG was definitely good. The use of practical, the suit looked, again, one of the best comic accurate suits we get. Than when we originally saw it for the first time in Smallville, looking like a mech more than anything.
Oh man,
Seen the picture. I never saw it in action, but
if you well, you're in Canada, so you don't have Hulu. You do have Disney Plus though. So
Yes.
wouldn't Smallville be on Disney Plus for you guys?
Honestly, I have
the
no
star said, yeah,
idea.
maybe.
I've never really searched it out, to be honest. But I
Yeah,
might have to just for that.
it
I'll
would
just
be-
search up the clip.
It would be either season 9 or season 10, I believe.
Okay.
And it's promoted as a Booster Gold episode. So if you find the Booster Gold episode, you're eventually going to see.
So
Blue
it's
Beetle.
Jaime and Booster.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
So Ted Kord's not in it at all.
But and again, we knock it just because, but that was the best we got at the time. So
It was,
that's
yeah.
what we had.
Yeah.
It
Um,
was wild.
Yeah, it was definitely a choice. A choice was made at that point, but considering what they had budget wise and things like that, it's the best they could do. All right, will this get a bump when it comes to streaming and VOD? Yes, it will. It'll get a dump. It'll get a bump, but it's one of those where I agree with the commentary because I've said it too. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of imagination. I've seen much worse movies this year and much worse superhero comic book movies than this. This is a I wouldn't. This goes as far as like yes, it's an origin story. It follows the playbook of a superhero origin story very well. This is not a movie. I hate to say that you have to see in theaters in order to appreciate it. It's not. It is not necessarily one of those. But I will be the one saying, yeah, you should at least see it at that point. If you have a choice between seeing something like a Barbie or an Oppenheimer or something like that, saying versus Blue Beetle, yeah, I can understand why you see Barbie for the third time versus seeing Blue Beetle for the first time. It will have another life, and I do believe James Gunn when he said Jaime will be in the DCU moving forward. I think if the fact that we heard that, yes, plans can change, but I have no reason to doubt James Gunn and making that statement over and over and over again that Jaime is the first character within the DCU. We will see him again.
And he was definitely the biggest pull, like the actor and the
Yeah.
character for sure. Like everyone's looking forward to him. I don't know about your guys' audience, but I know for me there was like 3 packs. There was a group right behind me, like 9 or 10 like 14-year-old girls there, just like there you could tell just for Jolo for sure. So yeah.
Well, and that was the big thing that we were hoping for.
Yeah,
Me and my co-host for Batman News Weekly, we talked and said like these Cobra Kai fans need to come out and see this movie for it to be any sort of success. And I think that I think it's a small crowd, but it was a lot of that Cobra Kai fandom.
Mhm.
And I showed the guys over at the GUA chat, like Texas theaters were starting to get packed.
Yeah.
So I think the South is definitely excited for this type of hero. Um, I'm really excited to see where he's gonna pop up in the DCU. The big thing that I am still amazed by from Gunn is that 10 show / movie slate was said to be less than half of chapter 1 of the DCU. So if 10 projects is less than half, like it's going to be pretty intense on what his roadmap is going to be looking like. So I'm excited to see where Jaime falls into that.
Oh yeah. Also, I want to shout out the intro scene too, like just going into the mountain and looking at the scarab, and then it goes in the scarab, and then it shows the scarab kind of going through the universe and stuff. I freaked out when the Green Lantern ring just came in and knocked it.
I saw the
knocked
movie
it
before, I
over.
totally missed it.
And yeah, shout out to Travis for catching that one for sure.
Yeah.
He knew it's the ring. But no, either way, like I think definitely it's an open road for different colored scarabs and stuff down the road. That'd be sweet. But yeah, just showing that wider world for sure was super cool to see. So yeah, need to see that Green Lantern Corps reach war in the future or something like that. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, I when we talked about that on the review, I was like, I'm not sure that actually happened. Heinz, we'll have to go watch it again. And then he was so satisfied when that was confirmed.
I'm sure that's awesome.
He always is.
Awesome. Shout out to Travis.
Yeah, it definitely. I'm glad it came out. It's unfortunate that it ended up on the lower end of it. I'm still, depending on how this weekend goes. Right now, I'm still going with it. If it crosses 100 million, I think it's going to be a small miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it sitting at right now?
I think it crossed 60 already. If I'm not mistaken.
And I think I brought up, I can't remember where I brought it up, but what was it? The Pixar movie
Elemental.
Yeah, like that was it just kind of stayed in theaters the entire time and crossed 300 million.
Yeah, that was like a slow burn, but holy crap.
Yeah. So like, I know this won't get the time in theaters. I know it's going to be probably pulled in like 2 weeks and then on HBO Max in like 3 weeks. So it
Yeah.
sucks.
I think what we've learned from particularly this summer is just like nostalgia is not as strong as people would like to believe that people are going to come out for nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to superhero movies, this year alone has really shown that it's not superheroes that's going to get people to come out to the theaters, and we can go over all the reasons we've gone over and over again.
Yeah.
It's the writing. I don't think every movie has to be an event because then that becomes a big problem. I think you have to tell a good story and showcase that kind of story and hook the people.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. They people a lot of people have thought of this idea of like, oh, the phenomenon that is Barbenheimer, there needs to be more of that. That just happened to be a thing that fell into our laps.
Lightning
I
in a
don't think you're
bottle.
going to get a lot of those.
I don't know. I did see somebody tweet out that they need to push since Dune now is coming out.
I posted in the GUA chat the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and
the
Dune
Charlemagne.
and drop them both in 2024 in May
Look,
and just call it Charlemagne and
Yeah,
and
they can
see
have it.
Oh,
the
no.
Twitter go wild with it. It's funny, but I just like you can't rely on those kinds of things. Like, yes,
They learn the wrong lessons all the time from this stuff.
exactly, Chris. But the thing is, like, we also like, and the funny thing is, we live in a meme world now. Like, meme culture is insane. Where look at freaking Minions. Minions 3 made $1 billion because of a TikTok trend meme.
Yeah.
Literally, people were dressing up in business suits, going to see Minions for no reason. They were just like, I want to be a part of this meme and post it online. And it made the movie $1 billion. You just have to come up with either something clever like that or just rely on really good storytelling.
But I also think with Minions too. I mean, you have a very established franchise that has continued to perform despite everyone saying another one of these. I'm not a fan of the Minions. My kids are starting to get into it, and I cringe at every moment I see it on there, just because I'm not a fan. But again, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But they have something going that and that's why I kind of worry about when they talk about like a Shrek, another Shrek movie. I was like, there's been a long time separation from that. That one, I worry in the sense of, is nostalgia going to win out on that one, or
the only way they win
Mhm.
is if Eddie Murphy comes back. If
he
Eddie
would
Murphy
come
doesn't
back, though,
come back,
for that.
do you think he would?
He would, but that's a movie that he's had no issues with, and he came back enough times at that point. It doesn't necessarily, it meets his whole threshold of not doing anything. It meets his, I'm going to do things my kids can see, even though his kids are all grown up and everything like that. He has no reason not to. It's a voiceover. It's a good cash day for him.
I mean,
Maybe, yeah.
The new Puss in Boots was actually a pretty good movie.
But
And
That was great.
another one
That was
that
great.
had
Yeah.
years between
Mm-hmm.
the
True.
And I think
One movie.
the Puss in Boots movie is what triggered
The
Dreams.
Shrek, yeah.
the Shrek possibility. Yeah.
Fair point.
Yes.
Fair point. I
Yes.
did forget Puss in Boots was that success. So yeah, I'll stand corrected. It would do well, but again, it comes down to the story. It
Yeah.
comes down to
Yeah.
doing something right. Because again, as Pixar has learned and Disney has learned, you can't just get away with anymore with the Pixar logo and expect people to come out for
Well,
it.
and
that's more Disney pushing out Pixar, like pushing out things that aren't
Yeah.
Pixar and being better quality movies.
But
Uh,
that's my big worry on. I think eventually Zaslav and Gunn will butt heads because let's face it, Zaslav is one of the individuals that is saying, "Hey, AI is the future," because everybody else says AI is the future, and that means more money in my pocket and less money in y'all's. Whereas Gunn, when he made the announcement of the DCU, he said, "It is better to focus on a better story than a better actor." Like he said, the movie is not the actor, the movie is the story. He's one that is number one about the script.
Mhm.
I don't think at all Gunn is going to be gung ho on, hey, if this movie is crap, let's just push it out anyway because we need to make the money. You know?
Yeah.
What do you think about this, Charlie?
I think right now, and I know James Gunn, like he's trying really hard to not go down this rabbit hole, like of just pushing out kind of just getting stuff out there and pushing out mediocre movies. Like he's really trying to oppose against that, and I just hope they've really just established with him and Safran and. But yeah, the business, once you get down to the business, it's obviously can be a hell of a lot different than the creative side and like the realistics of like how much things cost and that. So I don't know. I hope not, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they did butt heads, to be honest.
It's going to be very interesting to see how, with the strike basically now more than likely going to be continuing deep into the fall, that James Gunn doesn't have a lot of time.
Mm-mm.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. It's running out quick. It's been going quick.
I mean, he doesn't get.
It's gonna hit 100. It's already past the 100 days, if I'm correct.
Wow.
And it's going to hit 6 months in October, which is right around the corner. A little less or a little more than 1 month. And as of right now, we know that Gunn is, of course, finished with Superman. But if
Script.
you're gonna be as far as the script, yes, he's finished with the
First
script.
draft anyway. Yeah.
The filming is said to start in January, but if you're gonna start a universe, like you gotta hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And what I can say with that is, I don't think, if the strike goes long and he can't do it, like, I'd like to think, I am not a fan of David Zaslav's by any stretch of imagination. He wouldn't care necessarily about me either at that point because I'm not of his caliber. But it is to let James Gunn go because certain things didn't get off on time. Like, that's not James Gunn. Like, the logical side of me says, like, he hired James Gunn for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And him being as business minded is, he's like, he's going to set up all this stuff, and then you let him go at the end of the contract because nothing's really come out. Like, that's already a lot of money already lost for what reason? I think at the very least, I could easily see a quick contract extension due to the strike taking away that time from him.
Yeah, I mean, because they started in January.
Well,
or November.
So his contract started in November of 2022.
Okay,
that's where it started. The announcement was, it was a 4-year contract.
4-year contract.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to the 6 months that have been sitting here with the strikes, and I'll be very surprised if there are.
Yeah,
I'll be very surprised if they're done before Thanksgiving. I mean, I would love them to. I really would. But I also, with everything that's coming out from the CEOs that we're seeing, that's getting shared in our group chat, that's happening on Twitter, X, whatever the hell damn thing's called, like, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So you have to take those 6 months that has just been sitting and kind of give Gunn leeway. Like, an extension would be the best option here. Because
he's already invested enough money for him to do what he's been able to do right now.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
And it could get pretty messy too, like especially because like we know how fast like this universe is already established, right? So he's like in the Superman movie, we're gonna have a Green Lantern in there, we're gonna have Hawkgirl, like Metamorpho, like all these different characters. So it's like,
if you will.
Yeah. But it's like, so he kind of has this blueprint. So if it's like halfway done and then he leaves, is someone going to try to rewrite this, or are they going to try to continue that like seamlessly? Like so yeah,
we're going to get what we just had, basically.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why, I know, okay, Creature Commando is the first one, but let's be honest, that's just going to be a small blip on the radar amongst the general audience.
Which I think is basically already finished. The only thing that I cannot confirm and I cannot find is if the animation is finished yet. All of the voiceover work is finished, but I don't know if the animation is quite done yet.
Yeah, that's a good point too. But there's a reason why you're starting with Superman. If he has one shot to kind of not just prove what he wants to do with the universe, that's why, oh my God, it's a bunch of cameos and things like that. He's kind of left with no choice but to give that as a beginning story. I am not worried whatsoever. I don't believe all the people concerned like saying, "Oh my God, is it what happened to the Superman movie?" I've seen enough films of James Gunn that I like more than I dislike. That in this case, learning what he's learned from Marvel, he's gonna be his own person. They're letting him do, for the most part, what he wants to do with this from everything that he's let on. But he's not gonna tell us, "Oh, they're not gonna let us get." I'm gonna trust in the process that he's done.
And also, just real quick, when it comes to the cameos of Superman or that are going to be in Superman, um, I know that I run a Batman News Weekly podcast, but Superman is my favorite hero.
Mhm.
Who in the world outside of Batman can outshine Superman?
Guy Gardner.
Like,
Metamorpho.
shut up, Joe.
Just-
Like honestly, do we have any worry that any of these characters are going to outshine Superman in his own movie? Like,
no, but that's not what people are concerned about. People are upset that
Why are they there?
exactly. Now,
Yeah.
here's the funny thing I literally just thought of. Phase 1 of Marvel, people ignored those first handful of movies and went to see
with
Avengers.
all the cameos.
Not just the cameos. They went and they skipped Iron Man 1 and 2. They didn't see Incredible Hulk. They barely saw Thor and Captain America. And they went into Avengers, and here is an ensemble movie. Here's a bunch of people, a group of these superheroes in this movie, and they're like, "Holy crap, this is awesome! I want to go see Iron Man. I want to go see this."
Yeah.
If anything, Superman Legacy having all these cameos will entice people to want to know these characters more. However, Avengers was able to balance the ensemble really well. This is a Superman movie. These guys, and Travis and I have talked about it on DC Alliance. I think they will be in this world, but I don't think they're going to be like up close camera is looking at them and we're seeing them here. I think it's going to be Clark and Lois going on assignments to these locations that these heroes were at. We'll see them on TV somewhere talking, interviewing in Coast City or something. I don't know. Like we will see them from a distance to just prove that they are in this world and that they are active.
I want to make the assumption that there is going to be an incident where, like, just because Guy Gardner is who he is, where Superman attempts to help, and Guy Gardner is like, "Oh, we don't need you. Who are you?" Like,
Yeah,
blah,
who are you?
blah.
Like, what are you doing?
And then at the end of the movie, he's gonna be like, "Where's Superman? We need his help." Like, I think that's gonna happen for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that, and yeah, just Nathan Fillion with a bowl cut is gonna be
It's
gonna
gonna
be
look
something
so
to see. For
I don't
sure.
think it'll be a bowl cut. I think
It's going to be a bowl cut. I have no
because
doubt.
Guy's
Oh,
hair
yeah.
in the more recent ones has just been like a kind of similar.
It's
to
been
Clark
like
Kent.
the faux hawk type.
I
Flock
think
of
that's
Seagulls?
what's gonna be.
But
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
The bowl cut would be a classic, but I don't think it's
I was
gonna
gonna say bowl cut was more
it's
of
gonna be-
70s and
I hope so.
80s.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was
Uh,
90s. It was definitely 90s before he became Warrior. That's my first interaction with him was during Death of Superman. He had the bowl cut.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, that's
He did.
true. Oh, that's right. Because at that point in the 90s, he had the
He had the yellow ring.
yellow ring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, and he had the bowl cut. That's
Yeah.
right.
It's
Warrior.
again the whole point of this idea of these cameos. Like, he's not the first one out there. There have been other superheroes before him. We're not going down the road where Superman inspires heroes to come out.
Yeah.
And,
The other
and
heroes
be a part
inspire
of the
him.
universe. Like, he's already a part
That's
of this
cool.
universe. And in the middle beginning of his career as a superhero. That's okay with me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of using the film not necessarily as a launch pad for individual other projects, just setting up this world, just like Blue Beetle set up their world in the sense of like there was a past. This wasn't the first time. There's a world, greater world out there with heroes and villains that are out there at that point. I am not worried about any of these cameos looking like. James Gunn has always been an outstanding job of casting, but he's also done a very good job of why he chooses certain characters to be in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There is a reason for each one of these characters to be in the Superman movie. However minute, however large, there is a reason for these cameos.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Now, do you guys like? I totally agree with you too. Like, I'm excited for it, and I think it's cool. They're kind of doing it backwards in that way, where it is established. But do you see people like taking that the wrong way, like kind of seeing all these heroes and being like, "Oh, who are these guys?
Where's
Like,
where's
oh,
their movie? Where's their
yeah,
movie?
yeah." Like,
I
do
think
you
there will
think-
be,
Yeah,
honestly, because we got that with BVS. We got, hey, where's the Batman movie? Where's the Batman movie? Like, how can you establish Batman in this Superman movie
That's
when
true.
you haven't even established him in his own movie?
I have a lot of
And-
those people muted.
I say we would have had it, but then
But also,
reasons.
my idea, and this is the idea of the whole thing with, that I do appreciate with Matt Reeves' franchise is, you idiots, you know who Batman is. Like, you don't need a whole 3-film trilogy to understand who Batman is. You know
Nah,
who
man,
Batman
I
is.
need
My
I need
grandmother
Martha-
knows
Martha
who
Wayne to be
Batman
killed
is.
off again.
But like, I
need
can
the shots and the pearls again. I haven't got. I'm almost there. That I think I understand the death of the Waynes.
I
mean, the best
Maybe once-
death,
once
the best
more,
Wayne
maybe.
death ever was Teen Titans Go to the
It's-
Movies.
I knew you were gonna say that one.
I say it every time. It's amazing. It's
I
freaking
think
hilarious.
I think the only character that people will legitimately be like, who is that, is Mr. Fantastic. I think that is the only character that people are really going to be like they could
Mr.
probably
Terrific?
believe
Mr. Terrific?
believe Hawk Girl.
Mr. Terrific. I
Mr.
think.
Or
Terrific.
did I say Fantastic?
Yeah,
yeah,
Fantastic.
Mr. Terrific.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
yeah.
I think people will look at Hawk Girl and they'll be like, okay, there was a Hawkman in that Black Adam movie. Of course, there's going to be a Hawk Girl.
But we
but-
also had Hawkgirl in Legends. So for the
But there was
general
also
audience-
Mr. Terrific in the
Arrow.
Arrowverse. But that's
Yeah.
but it's
Mm,
it's
there
still
was.
a niche fandom, you know.
fair.
But I do think people can connect dots to Hawk Girl.
Yeah.
Mr. Terrific is just a dude with a really badass jacket and he's really fucking smart. Like that's
and a world class athlete.
yes. So I think those people will.
I figured they questioned Metamorpho more than Terrific.
Oh, I keep forgetting he's going to be in this movie too. Let me reverse that. I think Metamorpho will be the only character that could really be absolutely questionable. Just because, and let's be honest, he is a wonky character. He like I'm just now reading him again in Wade's Superman Batman run,
That's what I was just thinking of, and he's done it so well.
and he's done it very, very well. As long as they keep kind of that attitude for him, I'm gonna appreciate him in the books. And I know that Gunn is very, very keen on comic book accuracy as far as portrayals of characters. So I think that we will get that like Metamorpho with attitude.
Yeah. And bring him back, World's Finest. He's been getting in the spotlight a little bit, and World's Finest too. But yeah, I think pretty much the only thing I've read of him is in Morrison's like JLA stuff, like
Yeah.
on the beginning of that
yeah.
stuff he's in.
Yeah.
That's a fun team. But yeah,
It'll be interesting to see when you get this. Like, is a JLA, JLI, Justice Society already established at this point? You know, or is it going to come by the end of the movie? Because that's what everyone's
Yeah.
going to be thinking about. So where's the team up? What are we hinting towards? Where's that big team
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, I'm.
that
Well, go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah. So
that team kind of makes me think it could kind of be like Superman kind of getting in an incident and kind of the JLI kind of coming in to check on him to kind of see what's going on or kind of putting him in check or something like that. So I could definitely see an established team already or something along those lines. But yeah,
I think that will for sure be the biggest question is when is the next big crossover for DC? I don't need Gunn to rush it at all.
Doesn't sound like he is.
I don't.
These movies all need to be separate
Yeah.
for a minute. You know?
I don't need a. I mean, if you look at the MCU, you started with Iron Man in 2008, and you got a crossover in what 2011, 2012,
12.
I think it was. So 4 years. I would say at the bare minimum, maybe 4 years, but go 5, maybe go 6. Establish some characters, make some good stories. Gunn wants to go out and establish characters that people aren't familiar with. And I think that is the best thing to do, because then there's no expectations. And so people can be surprised by a really good story.
And I think there's something to be said in the sense of like we talk about this a lot on Marvel Alliance, that like, what is that sweet spot of content release? And I think for movie wise, 2, 3 is pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and you
need 2, but 3 is getting close to that danger zone.
And phase 1 and phase 2 of Marvel were perfect, because especially phase 2, when they were just doing 2 a year. You know, in phase 1 they were starting slowly. They had I believe it was Iron Man, Hulk, and then Iron Man 2 all within 3 years. Maybe
I
Hulk
remember
and Iron Man 2 were in the same year.
Yeah, Hulk and Iron Man 2 were in the same year.
Okay.
And let me qualify that. When I say 3 is getting to the danger zone, I'll mention that there's also going to be shows.
Yes.
So so when you do 2 movies and 2 shows, that's it. That's the limit they gotta put themselves to.
And I remember listening to the episode of you guys talk about that, and I agreed with, I think it was it Brent that said, or it was you that said the 3 and 2. Like that, even that is
that's a lot.
That's a lot. Like it needs to be. You're right. It needs to be 2 movies.
You can space it out 1 a quarter. You can have everyone having their own little breathing room each quarter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. You don't need to. And completely understand. 2020 was a bonkers year. Everything got shifted, and it was just like, all right, like we've got all these projects. Let's put them out. So yeah, we had 9 projects a year for 2 years. Way too much. Like people are my girlfriend after Infinity War, or I'm sorry, after Endgame, she's just like, okay, like there's nothing really exciting me anymore. WandaVision, Loki, she likes those. She just rewatched Loki because season 2 is coming out soon. But like she started watching Secret Invasion and stopped after 1 episode. She loves Ben Mendelsohn. That show could not pull her in, which, let's be honest, that's totally fine. But like the last few, like she was indifferent with Hawkeye. She was fine with I'm trying to think. She did like She-Hulk. She liked She-Hulk because it was comedic. But like, yeah, she just kind of just doesn't care for like the movies. She was telling me the other day, she hasn't cared about a Marvel movie since Ragnarok. Like Ragnarok,
wow.
she liked Ragnarok. Anything past that, like, no, she just doesn't. She doesn't care. She doesn't care. Yeah. She watched Guardians 3 the other day and felt nothing. So
okay, I don't know about that.
Emily?
I don't know about that.
This is Emily.
Yeah,
I have some words with Emily.
You can hit her up on TikTok.
Wow. Oh man.
Wow.
So like
that's crazy.
So, but it's because there's just been so much. It's been project after project after project, and I keep bringing up like maybe there's fatigue, maybe people are getting tired. But we've talked about it a few different times. It's not that we're getting tired. It's they need to be original. They need to be good. They need to actually have the interest, you know, like, and I will see all the stuff day one. I'm a comic book fan, as you can see. Like, I'm gonna watch the stuff. You know, it's already got my money, but you need to earn my second viewing. And if you can't earn the second viewing after the first time, like I saw Blue Beetle twice in theaters because I really enjoyed it. But like Black Adam, no, I saw that once. Thor: Love and Thunder, saw it once.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spider-Man: No Way Home, 5 times in 1 week. So
I saw it twice on the same day. So
yeah, so like if you can get me for me, if I'm enjoying it, if I'm liking what I'm seeing, obviously I'm gonna go see it again. But there's been movies where it's just like I have no idea what's going on. I don't understand what's going on. This sucks.
Yeah.
It's the age of choice, and that's
It-
and that's the thing. Like I this summer tried out the Regal Unlimited. I'm never doing it again. I have a lot of problems with the system. I was also, when I tried to cancel, that was a whole backward system that I had to go through a contact form, and thankfully I was the person got back to me, so I can at least praise that. That was that. But like, I don't want to have to go to AMC, but I'm also at a point where I'm only going to do those in the sense of, okay, I've got a stretch of movies that are coming out that I'm going to do. I'm not going to, I just don't have the time to go see movies that much because now, Erin doesn't like going to the theaters just because it's just not her thing. She doesn't get into it. She's completely happy waiting for it. I joked around with one of my staff members, like, I do this because I basically get paid to do it.
Yeah.
To do this. So I mean, it's a small perk of this hobby, but if I didn't have that, yeah, I probably wouldn't see a lot of these things until it came from streaming because of the convenience factor. And we've only taken our kids to 2 movies. They got to see Frozen 2 when it was in theaters towards the very end of that run. And then we saw Mario. It's not a big desire for us to take it to the movies for cost. And then for us to go to the movies together, it's just like, we got to pay a babysitter. It becomes basically, before we don't get concessions. Like we're those weird people that just don't go to movies and get concessions. Just not us. It's already expensive enough. But like already with a babysitter, movie tickets, we're already looking at $100. We haven't had anything to eat.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind taking the hit and going to see the movie theater. It's not weird. What people say, you go to a movie by yourself? Yeah. Who am I talking to in the theater?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I miss
Yeah.
those days. I miss the days of going to a movie by myself, to be completely honest.
I do all the time now. Like,
me
I got
too.
the Regal Unlimited,
Yeah.
and it again 2020. I think I had gotten the Regal Unlimited in either late 18 or early 19, and I'm like, you know what, 2020, I'm gonna see a movie a week.
Yeah. And when I started asking Brent, because Brent's got AMC at that point, it's like Regal charges a 53-cent thing to me for just getting a movie. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kinda
No,
crap.
and I asked Brent, so do you have that? I said, what's that? Yeah, the big strike against that. So next time I'm doing AMC. Problem is, the AMC near me, it's not it's in a mall right now that's gotten a lot of problems per se.
Mine.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I can't go late night anymore because for my own safety and for Aaron's sanity, if I'm going out late to see that, I can't do that. I can find other ways and have to see it later. But the reason I started doing that is because I want to see my kids. I want to spend some time with my wife, and I can go out late. She's already in bed. I can do that. I drink my Zoa or my 5-hour energy, and I will be fine.
I said,
But
Yeah.
it's the idea of choice, and we've heard it over and over again. You have to, what will bring you out to the theater. And people, and like I said, we said it earlier. The companies are learning the wrong lessons from everything needs to be an event film. No, everything doesn't need to be event. Not everything needs to be Barbenheimer. Not everything needs to be an end all be all Avengers movie. Tell good stories and make people, based on your promotion, based on your trailers, to say, hey, that's something I want to see. And that's where you get into, how do you get them? How do you hook them into it? And guess what? I've heard more positive things about Rebel Moon and people saying, I don't know what this is, but it looks freaking cool. That's how you get people in a theater.
Yeah.
That's how you get people watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
For sure.
Full circle right there. Full circle.
Full circle for sure.
Full cinema.
I want to bring up, since it's the 4 of us, Massiveverse stuff, but I haven't read the latest books yet.
Oh, no.
I know that maybe Joe and Charlie are probably the only 2 that have read it.
I've
I
read
kind of rely
Dead
on
Lucky.
Clay for this stuff. So
Yeah, I know, and I'm uploading everything this weekend.
Good.
I get the
Because no one's on my podcast list, like literally next. And I'm like, I have to keep moving it until
And I'm okay. I'm okay with saying this.
The
in
Radiant
public.
Black podcast is still holding there for Dead Lucky.
I'm okay with saying this because we have our network on the list for comic book reviews.
Yeah.
but I get the review copies of all the books, and just because we have been known to interview the writers and everything, I let these two read the books, and because of how hectic my schedule is, I don't really get to upload too often. And I saw this week Dead Lucky, Rogue,
Rogue, no
No
one.
one.
no one, they all dropped.
That's when I kind of poked Clay and said, "Hey, heads up, it's a big week at
Well,
this point."
Not
It
not
was a
only
bit-
that,
yeah.
but I had forgotten about your message, and literally Tuesday night, I get 3 notifications from my bank account. $3.99, $3.99, $3.99. I was like, what in the world came out this week? And then I look at my Comixology. I was like, oh crap, it's all dropping on one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
then
hurt.
Radiant Black just got delayed again to the end of October.
Wow.
That's a bummer, but yeah, I don't know.
I just
So
hate that for events like that have barely just gotten off
I
the
know.
ground. I
I
mean, it's not.
know.
I know it happens. I don't blame them for it, but
It's
it's
a
just
lot
like,
of work,
ugh.
man. Like,
It
and
is.
and spoilers for this event. Who's ever not read it, but like, or you guys have all
Okay,
read
you're
it,
fine.
right?
Yeah,
We've all read
we've
the
all
first
caught up
issue,
in
yeah.
part one.
Okay, yeah, no, but like with the 2 covers, they're literally making 2 issues
Yeah.
at a
And I
time.
love
Like
it.
that's a lot of work, man. Like I did not believe that when I saw, like, I thought it was just maybe a possible future kind of at the end of that issue, but when I found they're making 2 different issues with 2 different
Well,
artists,
the thing
like
was,
that's
I
insane.
shared it with these guys.
That's
I
insane.
got the email, and I was like, why is there 2 copies of the same book? And
Yeah.
why does it say A and B?
I
And I was like,
in
It's
Indy
weird.
and
Like on
driving
digital, you mean,
home,
right?
and
Yeah,
Clay's
yeah,
just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, old man, wake up! We got a Christmas came early." I'm like, "Dude, what? I'm driving. I can't do anything. What the hell are you talking about?"
but
That was
I had
crazy.
read them both that night, and I was just like, what are they doing to me? Like, you can't do this, man.
We've speculated in our group chat.
That we speculated a lot of things what's going to
We
be
did.
moving forward with this event. But for me, I think what's I don't necessarily think it's going to hurt the digital community at all, but like from what Kyle has said, this first issue
Yeah.
25, right? It's 25.
Yeah.
The digital version of the second story
It's like
came in
99
for
cents.
people late.
Yeah,
It
99
was
cents, yeah.
delayed.
Yeah.
Oh
But
wow.
then he said, "Oh,
Yeah.
every issue after that is going to be same day." But when
And
you delay, unfortunately, and I know it's a lot. I'm not going to blame Kyle. I'm not going to blame Image. I know it's a lot going on. But when you put a delay on this, on an event that has been really ramping up,
yeah.
I hope it does. I hope the delay doesn't kill it. I've been doing what I can to hype up what I can with it. I just got the 2 issues via Image this week, along with Radiant Pink. So I need to push that out on TikTok here pretty soon. But it's something that I'm still very much looking forward to, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's super exciting. Like it really does suck it's getting delayed. But I hope it will be worth it, I'm sure, in the long run. And we got all those books kind of to tide us
Oh,
over
yeah.
for sure. Like Rogue Sun's been absolutely incredible.
That
Like,
has been a nice surprise. That I call that the little book that could. You know, I'm so happy for Ryan that this character that I know I heard a lot of people saying I love Radiant, but I'm not so sure about Rogue Sun, and it had nothing to do with Dylan the character. It was just like I think once they started seeing exactly what the whole purpose was, and then that twist that happened with the change, it's like, okay, this is going to be very interesting to see kind of this history. And I've grown. It's like Rogue Sun is one of my most look forward to books when it does drop, just because I'm even more invested in that.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Bash came on the podcast today. We just reviewed the new issue of Rogue Sun, and he said this book's like he says this book's better than Radiant Black. Like and I might have to agree with him. Like at the time, like just each issue, and especially these last like 3, the lore and stuff. He's he's
diving deep into.
diving deep into is insane, and just like seeing how much and how deep he's thought out this lore and this world, like I have no idea where it's going, but I hope it continues. That's all I can say. I hope it doesn't end anytime soon, but I'm a little worried for it, but I hope it continues, and same with Dead Lucky too. Like I'm a little worried about that one too.
Of course, like you always have to be worried about your sales when it comes to indies, because you don't have the backup of an IP to kind of carry you. But in all honesty, I think it is helping that it is a part of this massive verse.
Yes,
there is a big fandom here, and there's a lot of people, and we've recommended that you don't have to, just because the writers
Really
have recommended that you do not have to. But a lot of these fans are buying every book and wanting to keep up with everything. I have become a diehard Ryan fan ever since Go-Go Power Rangers. Like, ever since I started reading Go-Go Power Rangers, I was like, okay, this is my ride or die. I'm going to follow him until he stops writing. He is great. He did an amazing job on Go-Go. He did an amazing job on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and then Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers. And he's doing a great job with Rogue.
He's still alive after doing both of those at the same time, which is amazing.
Exactly. And I think when it comes to the tier list, just because of the amount of backstory and content and lore that is encompassing into these books, I think it is Radiant Black and then Rogue Sun. Rogue Sun is right there. And when both books come out relatively close to each other, it's really hard to say which one was better, because they are both so good. I love what's encompassing into Rogue Sun. The wackiness of the creatures that are out there, the big twist, like, because for me, whenever it comes to following a main character and then like the main character is no longer that character that you were following for so long, you kind of like are like, do I really want to follow this book? But the really fun thing is Dylan's still there. Again, I haven't read the latest issue, so like I don't know if any of that has been resolved or not. But like, just seeing that, it's like, okay, I want to know how this is fixed. I want to know where this goes and how we fix our problem, you know?
Yeah. Crazy how much he's grown. And rest in peace, Reggie. I'll just say that.
Man.
Yeah. I found it interesting. Joe or Clay dropped it in our comic book chat at that point, and I get why he's not up, but I said it in the group, I'm a little disappointed with the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers issue coming out that Kyle is not in that issue, and I can totally understand why, just because of how busy he is with Massiverse and everything like that.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things like, he's the one who restarted Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from Melissa, Matt, Ryan, that whole crew. It was just like, that was the one thing I was like, Kyle's not there for the 30th.
I
was
would
a small
guess
disappointment.
I would have to guess that they offered him a story,
Probably.
and then he just said,
I don't
"I'm
have
too
time."
busy.
Yeah, and I would fully agree with you, Clay, on that. It's just, it doesn't take away from what's there. It's just like a 30th anniversary without the man who brought him back into comics is just a small disappointment. But yeah, as I said, too busy. You're exactly right. Probably was offered, just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
Even stuff like Supermassive, like just hearing how swamped he was with that. His plate's definitely been full, and this new card game comes out, like
it's gonna be so cool.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh boy, Joe's gonna have a field day with this.
There was just a new, I don't think it was a black market narrative, but Kyle just put out an email recently talking about that, and I'm already be signed up for the Kickstarter.
Yes,
I did.
And those those posters. I don't know if you guys saw this, but those sweet massive verse, like those San
Yeah.
Diego
Yeah.
Comic-Con ones, those are available now on Black
Oh,
Market
shoot.
Narrative.
Oh, thank you. All right.
I
We'll
went
be
right
sending
away
my-
and picked one up. So
Shit,
yes,
okay.
yes, there
Give
you
me a minute.
guys. There you guys go. But yeah, no, it was kind of at the very bottom. But yeah, that's something
I
I've
missed
been
it
waiting
then.
for
At
for a
that
while.
point,
Yeah, 'cause I think
No,
I got the
actually,
card came and
I
I,
got it like earlier today. There was still some up. I wouldn't
No,
be
I was talking
surprised.
about I missed that that
In
part
the
of the
letter.
email.
Oh
So-
yeah, yeah. No, so there you go. But yeah,
We're all
Good.
looking it up right
Yeah.
Look, it's fine. It's totally fine. Don't worry
dude,
about
that new poster, like, yeah,
I
that's just a wicked
legit
joy
have
of
it
Bardo and
as
Igor.
my desktop screensaver is that poster.
Yeah, that's great. I actually bought a second one because we were lucky enough the Invincible Podcast boys
there it is.
or Eduardo.
Joe, can you just
gave,
drop me a link because I'm
Gave them
missing
some
I can't
posters
find-
to
yeah,
send us,
I'll,
but I wanted doubles. I need some
okay,
down
yeah.
here and in my room. I
it.
want
Just check this out.
keep
Okay.
both.
Do share with. Yep, sorry.
Uh,
I
Is there
really
still
need to
some
get one
there?
of these t-shirts or something.
I'm just gonna put it in the group
Yeah,
chat. Really.
perfect.
There.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah, $15. Ooh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's fairly cheap too. Look at that.
yeah.
Yeah. And they
There's
have them
all-
both there too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all three.
Oh, they have.
They're still all available. Sweet.
Yeah.
And my
That is cool. That a lot of them are still available.
heart.
Those
Thank you,
Inferno
Charlie.
Red Kickstarter.
I
Yeah,
would
there you go.
have missed it and kicked myself.
Oh, there you go. Glad I could help.
I
Yeah,
really like
those are
that
those are
C2E2
insane
one.
posters. That first one, the second one's insane, but yeah, no. they're-
Yeah, I think at this point I said I have to get them both just because of how they're so different and
I
they're
got both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they look so. Yeah,
That's awesome.
hmm
not that I need another poster, but
I don't need another poster
Sure.
too.
Sure.
and
Yeah,
I-
where are you putting that one? Where are you putting that one?
I don't know where I'm putting. I've still got to figure out where
Oh,
I'm
I
putting this
love
thing.
that. I love that, man. That thing's sweet.
And now that they got the Shift issue coming out, I can take out the
Yeah.
2023
Yeah.
Massiverse and put it in there, and then I did actually. So I interviewed Matt on A Walk Through the Multiverse for Infernal Girl Red. That episode will be coming out soon. I had mentioned about that poster again, or about the poster board with all the books. And I think I brought up something about like, should I be getting a bigger thing? He's like, yeah, you probably should go.
Yeah.
I was
Man.
legit about to ask you guys this question.
So
So I have an inkling that another character is coming to the Massiveverse pretty soon. I have no inner dialogue with anybody. I just have this inkling.
okay.
When do
Yeah.
you think the earliest we could be seeing another hero within the Massiveverse?
Summer 2024.
I remember
Maybe-
I predicted. I thought we were gonna get one at the end of Supermassive, which we
I-
kind of did. We got a new character, but not a new
kind
book,
of
right?
did, but
Not
it's
new
it's
character,
it's an
but not new
older
book.
it's an older new character. Let's just
Yeah.
say that within the
Yeah, no,
Massiveverse.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that's definitely possible. And I remember, I forget what the quote was from Michael, but he was saying something about like the future of the Massiveverse, and he was saying like 20, 30 issues down the line, like the universe might still be there, but it might not look the same. So I wonder, like maybe like once that Dead Lucky book ends, like that could come to an end and kind of new heroes come in. I hope that book continues on forever, but I think they just really have their plates full right now, and especially if they want to continue this like super massive and these crossovers, I think the more you stretch it out, the harder
Well,
it is to get all these stories
Correct.
together.
And yeah,
I don't
that's
know
exactly right.
what you guys think in particular on this idea, but for me, I'm a big proponent of you have a character, you have a story, and you have an ending for that story. Like I get
Yes.
I get the idea of like, hey, you want to keep an IP alive so that way you can keep a paycheck coming in.
Mhm.
But if you have an ending, tell that ending, right? Don't get to the point where you're just making up
Yes.
stuff and then like it gets harder and harder to enjoy. And I definitely don't want that to happen to any of these writers.
Yes.
And we
Uh,
see that a lot with manga, where they start out and they like. I'm gonna use One Piece as a perfect example. Ito, the writer of One Piece, he has an ending. He's had an
Mhm.
ending for One Piece for 10 years, but he has a lot of stories he wants to tell
In
between
between.
everything.
Sure.
And it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and his ending is evolving, but he has an end point. I totally agree with this, and I can also go back to say Invincible or Walking Dead. Kirkman had those two stories in mind, and he was working toward an ending, even though no one saw it in the beginning. But like Walking Dead is a perfect example where it's like, oh yeah, hey, next issue is the ending. Yeah, I know we have solicits for like 3 more, but no, issue 192 is the final issue.
When that happened on Walking Dead, everybody freaked
Right?
out.
But that last issue though was like triple the length. Like it was a thick issue for
Mhm.
the same price.
That's what she said.
Exactly. So it's
I
not
was there. I
that
took it.
it's fine. I don't blame you. It's not that like Walking Dead was one like I don't think anybody saw an ending to it. That was one that could have gone on forever. And Kirkman's like, no, I've told the story I want to tell. I'm done. And honestly, kind of same with Invincible, where it was leading up to the end of what was it called, the final battle, the world of end of wars or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Where I think that one had more of a lead. Like you knew it was coming. Like he was building up to that one for a while. So I don't know. Like I want this to end on its own merit and not just be canceled because sales are dropping.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, and again, I pop in and out of the Discord. It's just too much to keep up with in that sense, and I know you guys, especially you, Charlie, are obviously in and moderating that Discord really well.
I'm never on it.
Has Kyle said how
Not
far?
as much as I should be, but
Has Kyle or anyone else kind of said, like, because I remember the big thing when Kyle first started this, he had like the first 25 planned at that point, like kind of where he was going with the first up to Catalyst War.
He knew. He said he knew when he started the first issue that the reader was going to have that choice of who's Radiant Black.
Yeah. So with that, now where we're at right now, has he hinted at like how far ahead he's planned post Catalyst War?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I think he's kind of I feel like I've heard him say a few things kind of hinting to what you guys are saying, like he wants to end on his own terms opposed to dragging it on forever just because he can and because the sales are still doing well. So I think he definitely wants to do the story, but I don't think he really knows yet.
It doesn't. Yeah, I wouldn't think an ending necessarily.
But I think he
because
probably
it's not
knows,
there.
but I don't know what he knows.
Yeah.
Come on, Charlie. Come on, get into his head. Come on.
You've had him on the show 4 times. Come on.
I'm okay with this world evolving. Just because we have been enjoying it so well. I think a lot of people will most likely be hesitant if let's say all 4 of these writers decide within the same calendar year, hey, we're all going to jump off, but the Massiveverse is still continuing with these books. I think that would be a little jarring. But I think as long as each book ends on their own terms, if we're introduced to these newer characters, whoever they may be, in a way that is intriguing, that has a compelling story, I'm all for it. I am a very big person that is an advocate for indie books. I wasn't one before I started working at a comic book shop. I was always like, oh, Marvel and DC are the best things ever. Like, why would you ever read anything that's not Marvel or DC? And then I started reading indie books. I was like, holy crap, what have I been missing for my entire life?
Yeah,
and it's great. The idea that these people can create literally that anything that they want to has worked very well for the Massiveverse. And we've there, I asked the question, and Kyle, I love that Kyle was so totally oblivious to it, and with how busy he was, commenting on the discourse of, hey, do I need to read everything? Where's the canon start and all of this? And everybody's like, just read what you want, have fun, Don't make
Yeah.
this homework. Just have fun. And that's what I like about this universe is
Yeah,
that
it's one
I
of those
can
things, it benefits you if you read everything, but you don't have to.
for sure.
Oh, exactly. And it has a little something for everyone. Like every book's like they don't even feel the same. Like you got like in Rogue Sun, you got magic, supernatural, Radiant Black's all science, you got
Mhm.
Dead Lucky, it's more the corporate kind of stuff over there. Like it's really great. Radiant Pink like completely targets like a completely different audience
Mhm.
altogether, but it still adds to the whole story. So yeah,
And
I love it.
what I love about the connective tissue is literally just nods. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not story plotting. It's not nothing. Like you see some of the burglars in Radiant Black have a Rogue Sun face mask. And then in Rogue Sun, you're like, oh, but what about the guy in Chicago? And like in Dead Lucky, you see Shift for one whole issue. It's like that stuff is cool. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with
Mhm.
that. Like I don't need there to be a huge encompassing darkest hour crossover like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like this small nuance stuff keeps every story their own. We're not having to piggyback on a lot of things. The one thing that I am worried about with Radiant Black is people wanting both stories and having to dish out nearly $9 to $10 for both issues.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that can hinder a
Yeah.
lot of people.
And
Yeah,
turn
that's
people
the
off.
tough thing because I think the first issue that was super cool, and I was hoping cover B is gonna be 99 cents, but that's I guess because only those last couple pages were different, right? Like now we're gonna have completely different creative teams for like different artists for both issues, so it definitely
Yeah, it's gonna
it
be
warrants that
splitting
it
two.
warrants the full
Yeah.
price, but yeah, it's still it can be a lot.
Yeah.
You can do that play once for an event. It's hard to justify them doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if sales show it, then obviously it worked, and they'll be willing to do it again. But yeah, it's we all say it like it's our favorite kind of series superhero at this point. It's been very consistent since day one and very creative, and I applaud the creativity. I think that's what we keep on saying about the movies and shows. Tell a good story. And again, I've said it over and over again. I say it every time I go on my other friends' streams that are collectors as well. The best superhero book you can read right now is in the Massiverse.
Yep.
Just that, bar none. No one comes close.
100%.
So
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, it is 11 o'clock
yes,
here.
same.
Yeah. So,
All right. Well, we hope you all that are listening. Thank you all for joining us in the live chat at that point. We will be seeing you next month. And thank you for Charlie for being a patron.
Yes, thanks, Charlie.
Thank you
Thanks
guys.
for coming on.
It's fun talking on. Yeah, it's been a while before the Flash.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
been a while since I hopped on here. So yeah,
But we haven't
It was
had a
good
show in a
catching up
while
with
either.
you.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
that's fair.
All right. Catch y'all later.